but it wasn't horrible. So the first thing I noticed when I was working on this, the height edition of this one, is where he places the breaths. And I feel like there are way too many. I mean, everybody's breathing needs are different, right? So for me, this is always where I start when I'm learning something new. Where am I going to breathe? Where am I not going to breathe? Because I have a lot of my performance anxiety will kind of build up around like the physical side of playing something. Like if there's a part that I'm super worried about taking a breath in a bad place or getting winded, I find that happens to me a lot when I'm playing unaccompanied stuff. Like I'll get nervous and I'll breathe in a lot, and I'll have this desperate need to like breathe out to exhale. And you know, when you're playing a piece of the piano, there'll be the moments where the piano's playing where you can take like a deep breath in and out and kind of reset. But in an unaccompanied place, there's not always spot for it, or it's hard to make yourself take that time because it feels super exposed and uncomfortable. So for this one, I mean, I like that he gave us lots of options of where to breathe, but I don't think we need them all, and I think some of them don't make sense musically. So the first line, he didn't put any breaths, and then he put the one over, but he puts this one here, right, over, come on, pencil. All right. This one here, over that eighth rest, and I feel like, yeah, that's kind of a duh. The ones over rest, we know we need to breathe in the rest. Sometimes not. Sometimes quick rest is better not to breathe. But I don't think we need this one here. I actually like it much better without. So I'm going to erase that. So I don't think there should be a breath here. Instead, I think the phrase really should just really continue on. So yeah, I really like to keep that phrase going. And then the next one, the third line. Let's see. I'm going to come back to those grace notes in a second. I'm fine with it, but I would rather not breathe there. I would rather breathe after the eighth note in the measure at the end of this line. But I can also see why you wouldn't want to breathe there. Or you would, yeah, why you wouldn't. I think if I had to choose, like, I'll need a breath. And in the following line, I really don't want to take this one. Come on, pencil. Thank you. This one. I didn't want that color anyway. Try again. That one I don't want to take. I feel like, I mean, it's fine in an emergency, and please do like plan emergency breaths when you're playing stuff. Like always over anticipate how much air you'll need when adrenaline is a factor. For me personally, it's like my body gets tired twice as quickly when I'm playing something and I'm nervous, and I run out of air twice as quickly. And I just think it's just better to usually in my music I will put breaths in and circle them. Those are the ones I am definitely taking, and then I will put little breaths in parentheses, and those are like, if you need it, take it here. And I feel like making those decisions ahead of time really helps if you do get performance anxiety like I do. You know, as many like things to worry about that you can just take off the table and just make the decision ahead of time in case it comes up. I think it really helps. Well, other great thing to do is when you're going through that, if you have like that anxious moment. I had a teacher, I think it was one of my teachers when I did my post-grad, she said, like when that train of thought starts and you're like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Then follow it. Say, okay, well, what if this happens? And you'll say, well, then I'll fix it and it'll be okay, or it'll be a horrible mistake and everybody will hear it. But the thing is, when you get to the end of the line of thought, the end is never, and then you drop dead, right? You just, or then something terrible happens. You know, the absolute worst that could happen is that you played a wrong note in front of people, or you squeaked in front of people. And you know, I like to remind myself, I'm not doing brain surgery. I'm playing the clarinet. I'm not curing cancer. It's not vitally important that I carry this off with no mistakes. it's not vitally important, except to me, at all. So it's just go with it, just like if you make a mistake, just keep going. I know for my students, what's one of the hardest things some of them deal with is I'll tell them, if you make a mistake, keep going like you didn't. Especially some of my elementary piano students, they're such good kids, but they're so focused, like they want to do it right, and they'll double back. And I'm like, no, I know you can get it. I know you can go back and get it right. But can you keep going? Can you shake it off and keep going? Because that's the hard thing. So I think for now, I want to keep that one breath, but I definitely get rid of that one. I just don't like that one very much. I think there should be a little break there. I don't like to go too heavy on those accents either. I mean, the accents in this, to me, read, except for in this next measure coming up, I feel like they read more like tenutos, right? It's just an emphasis. Like, these notes are important, they're dramatic, but they're not like, I don't want to slap them. So I think a little separate, maybe it's more, I'm treating them more like separation and less like an accent. Going back to this measure here, those tenutos I marked in are from the height edition. They're not in the regular edition. Those I treat differently than these accents. So I guess to me, the accents I'm treating more like a separated tenuto. And then the tenutos, the actual tenutos, I was in a rehearsal once and we had a guest conductor, and they said that they should play the tenuto as if you've spilled red wine on your white carpet and you're dabbing it up. And I was like, that really is like the perfect explanation. I wish I could remember the conductor's name. I don't think she was from around here, but she was visiting and our conductor was ill, so she filled in, and it was just a really interesting way of explaining it. And like, so you put when you put the cloth down on the spill on the carpet and you just press on it to soak it up. She said that's what tenutos are, and I thought, yeah, I like that. It's one of those articulations, I feel like everybody sees it and kind of knows what it means, but not everybody plays it the same way, which is fine. We don't all have to play everything the same way. Yeah, so for me, the tenutos that are marked in are just like a press, like an emphasis on that note. And then the accents, especially the ones under the slur, I feel like it's just more separation. They're leading to the cadence, so they just want to be a little more special. But I don't want to make like a whole thing of it. Now this next section of this etude, I really like, not just because I typically like music in a minor key better, which I do, but I like this passage a lot. The breaths through here. The next one I think I like. You know what? I think what I would do, if I would probably try to practice it this way, and then when I was performing it and kind of doing my own thing, I don't think I would breathe there. And I also don't think I would breathe there. I think I would just wait and breathe right here. I know some people do not like to break slurs, and that's fine. Sometimes I think it's really important not to, but I don't think just because there's a slur connecting two notes, and depending where it is in the phrase, I don't think that means like you must not breathe here. And to me, I would just rather breathe there and not break up those other moments. It should be a fairly quick breath, and I would think about it again if I was like continuously running out of air and that A wasn't sounding very good. But I feel like, I don't know, I like a longer phrase when I can do it. So let's try that. I'm going to play that phrase all the way to the fermata with just that one breath. Let's see if that works. kind of taper it out and end that little phrase. I think in a perfect world, I would almost not break that up. You'd go right into the theme again. But I'm not a violinist, I'm a clarinet player, and I have to breathe. So yeah, I think breathe there. Make it nice and tapered and pretty and musical, and it sounds good. I don't like that breath in that third bar of the restatement of the theme. I just don't. I did that backwards. But yeah, I don't feel like there's a need to break that up. I would, if I was going to breathe in that area, I would take this one out here. And I would take this one out here, and I would just breathe here and break that slur again. I used to be very against that, like breaking the slurs to breathe, but sometimes I think that it just makes more sense. And I'm the one who's playing it, so that's what I want to do. I like that better. And I don't know if you can read it, but in that measure there, I've written in the height markings where it says like little mezzo forte to piano, quick little decrescendos. I feel like that's one of those moments of like it's more about like the effect, and not super literal. It's not like a very dramatic sudden decrescendo. It's just like more emphasis on the lower note, less emphasis on the higher note. As a student, especially as a younger student, I would beat myself up over like playing the markings correctly. And yeah, that's a good thing to do, right? It's a good thing to play the markings correctly, but you don't have to like obsess over like, did I get exactly mezzo forte down to exactly piano? No, it's just about the music and making the music make sense. One of the things I try to tell my students is like, don't treat it like you bought a desk in IKEA and these are the instructions on how to put it together, and if you don't follow them, it's going to fall apart as soon as you put stuff on it, right? It's really, imagine more like somebody played or sang or whatever, performed this study or whatever it is you're working on, and somebody else took it down as best they could. They tried to capture what was in the performance on the page so that they could play it later, somebody else could play it later. The page is secondary, right? The page is just kind of like the best visual representation of what the music sounds like. So if something on the page doesn't make sense to you, try and figure out what it is they wanted it to sound like. Now, sometimes the editors are just bad. Sometimes the editions are just bad. And then you can just scratch everything out and do whatever you want. Usually they're just trying to convey an idea, and their way of doing it may not be the way you would do it. So just play it and see what you think the music is doing. And you've got a point of view, and it's completely different from mine. Just sell it. If you carry it off with confidence, then it doesn't really matter if it's different from like the standard way of playing it. And now, me like 10 years ago probably wouldn't have been horrified that I'd said that, but I was also at that time very focused on trying to do things correctly. But like, what even is that, right? I think most of the breaths I'm good with up until the end. So let's go back and talk about these grace notes in last measure of the second line and first measure of the third line. Right? If you're not a clarinetist, this might be a little dull or confusing, but if you are, we have two ways to play these. We can play it with topside key, latrell key, or you can just actually finger the B across the break. If you're not a clarinetist and you don't know about across the break, it's where we go from just these open throat tones here, and then we suddenly we had a register key, and we have all these fingers down, and it's a big jump. It's like one of the first big things you learn when you're learning clarinet is how to do that and make it not sound like crap, and then you can be playing for 20 years and still be working on how to play that and make it not sound like crap. These grace notes, they're quick. They've got the slash through them, right? So they're quick. When I played it before, I fingered out the B. and it's not speaking super duper well, but maybe that sounds better to you using the side key. And I think precision wise, it does sound better, but I just don't like the tone I get on that B. I mean, all clarinets are like that. None of them are going to sound great when you use those trill fingerings, but that one in particular, it sticks out to me. Maybe it's just me. So I feel like I would practice it both ways. And then if I was playing this on a performance, I would ask somebody to listen to it. I'm getting closer to the performance. And I would play it with the trill key, and then I'd play it the regular way and ask them which one sounded better. Just like probably ask someone who's not a clarinetist because they don't have any prejudices against trill fingerings. And if they said that the trill fingering one sounded better because the rhythm was more precise and it just sounded cleaner, then that's the one I would go with. So yeah, I did it before with the full fingering. Let me try it with the trill finger. Okay. It just doesn't sound amazing. You know, I really think for this study, it's better just to go ahead and use the trill fingering because they're quick. It's not like a whole thing. I can't remember who said this. The notes are the most important thing. Like having the notes come out and be good timbre and be in tune, and then you suit your fingering choice to that, like to preserving whatever the notes should sound like, whatever the passage should sound like. You don't want to ruin the mood. You don't want to like be out of tune, you know. And I get that now. I think they would be right about using the trill fingering there instead of the long one, because even the long B fingering, give a much better sound. It's going to be kind of blippy, you know, it's going to stick out a little bit, and I don't think that's what's meant to happen there. So it'd be better to have kind of a slightly fuzzy trill fingered B grace note, and then just keep going. I think if you didn't land it right, the long B fingering would kind of grind things to a halt and it wouldn't sound very good. Dynamics wise, I kind of agree with most everything he put in. Some of it I feel like is unnecessary ink. Like this that I'm doing here on my iPad, like I would never play with this many markings on it. I like to keep like only the essential things in, because my brain will get distracted, especially if anxiety or nerves are a factor. I'll see something I wrote and I'll not remember why I wrote that, and I'll start questioning it and I'll lose focus and I'll make a mistake. But in this one, some of them I think is excessive. Like when we have this little minor theme in the fourth line, you know, he wrote in he instead of having it forte, which is in the original, he wrote in the mezzo forte with the crescendos. I would probably just leave it, and I think this is unnecessary. We don't need the little forte right there in the middle. I would just leave it as is, and I would take my pencil and just give myself a little arrow to remind me to keep going. You know, it's not really going to relax until here-ish, more so there. And then I do agree, though, with him crossing out the diminuendo, or not having the diminuendo in the measure at the end of the fourth line, and also not having the piano at the beginning of the fifth line, and instead having it be the gradual decrescendo to the restatement of that minor theme. And that's why I think that breath there works. If you don't agree, that's cool. I like it there, though. My trill in the second statement of this minor, like the D sharp to E, was not great my first time through. My pinky on my right hand is a bit slow sometimes. If I was playing this on a performance, I would work in like a whole warm-up routine just around like 5 minutes, right? That I would do before this, just to really work on that trill. That's just an awkward spot for me. My ring and pinky fingers on my right hand are just not super duper strong. Lower joints on my fingers will kind of flatten, right? But like it's even more so on my right hand. Like I can't keep the arch in these fingers. And now it gets worse. Like if I'm nervous, I will squeeze harder when I'm playing, and then they will collapse even more. But even when I'm relaxed and playing and I'm comfortable, it still happens. With my students, it's a very much a do as I say, not as I do moment, which I hate. My kids are smart, and you know they can tell like when I'm doing something differently from the way I've told them to do it. So I usually just try to explain that like That's just one of my physical limitations, right? We all have different needs when it comes to playing the instrument, and we all start in different places. There's some things we can improve, and there's some things that we will always be working on improving. There's some things that we'll work on for a little while, and then we don't have to worry about it as much anymore. And there's some things we'll never master because we're all different, right? But there is a point where you just can't make it do differently. Like, that's just your hand, you know? Those are my fingers. They're just kind of weak, and they do this. And I'm really jealous of the people who can just, like, keep it super, like, say I can do, you know, but when I have the instrument, I start putting pressure, it just collapses. Was there something I wanted to talk about towards the end? Oh yeah, the breaths in the last line. So I don't really love the place. I took this one here when I played it before. I think it's fine, but I don't love it. I would like, ideally, to just breathe here and only take this one in an emergency. So, like, if it was the way I tend to write in my music, I would put, like, the breath mark and then parentheses around it as an emergency. Is that the C? So I really need to make sure that I have enough air on that last note to support it. So that may mean that I have to take that breath I don't like to make sure that the last note is good, because nobody wants to mess up the last note. Let me get into that a little bit. Okay, I would have liked to have held it longer, but I just want to make sure I can support that note and that it's not suddenly flat after everything else I just played before. Let me do it again with that breath and let's see. I think I could sell it either way. I'd rather not have it, but I think in a performance, I would definitely hold that last note longer. So I might want it just to make sure that I can end that note on my terms and not on my lungs' terms. Oh yeah, that's the other thing is one of the height markings I did really like was here at the end. He didn't have the little, what do we call that? My kids always call that like alligator teeth. He instead just did the decrescendo, and I think I like that better. I don't think a swell is really appropriate on that last note. Instead, I would maybe do like a little baby crescendo here, like just a little one, just a little bit. It would also help carry me through that breath. I mean, we're talking about like piano to like under mezzo piano just a little bit, or more maybe like mezzo piano plus save the piano for the very end. And I think really there shouldn't be any like front to that note, but it should just kind of be there, like be established at like a healthy piano, mezzo piano, and then taper off. That's what I think anyway. I also think I would probably only lightly tongue the last note or not at all. It just kind of depends on how I was feeling. I could see myself maybe putting the tiniest bit of space there and placing it. But if I wasn't going to do that, I might just kind of like slur/lightly tongue into it maybe. But I think maybe the space is good. I think if I'm going to take that breath, I'm not going to put space because I feel like it's too choppy then. But if I was able to make it through those half notes without the breath, then I might leave the space, but I wouldn't take a breath there because I wouldn't want it to be that big. So I think I'm going to just play it again. up that rhythm. I think it's just a hair early before. That's fine. It's a practice with me, not a perform with me. I would fix it. Cool. Well, thank you to everybody who watched my first stream. Next Monday, do the next one, number 2. And I'll do the same thing. I'll mark the height addition markings in. I know it's not super duper clear, but I hope it showed up okay. But anyway, thank you for watching. I think you can find all my links and stuff on my page. I hope you all have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Bye.